This is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com with another episode of Fast Action Fridays. Today, my special guest is Donna Blevins, who the more I talk to her and the more I learn about her, the more I am intrigued with both her background and her ability to help people get what they want out of life by shifting their mindset. And it's something we often know. We're stuck in bad mindsets sometimes and don't always understand what we can do to get out, or we understand peripherally what we can do, but we don't take the action. Donna's here to help lead us into that and help us to actually take action so we can have better mind shifts, so we can have better lives. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. And what taught me that was I learned it through the game of poker.
Which is one of the amazing things about you.
Because literally poker saved my life, because in 1996, you can do the math, I was in my late 40s, you can do the math there too, and I'm in a hand, and my husband and I had a big real estate company at the time. I was the management broker for the Department of Veterans Affairs. I took custody of 257 properties in one day. And I am in the hand, and I just learned how to play. And I'm in this hand, cards in my hand. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking about everything that had happened, the past few days, and what a contractor had done. And I'm worried about how I'm going to do tomorrow. And all of a sudden I had one of those, the universe does a tap on your forehead. And in that moment, I realized that the only thing that existed in life was the cards that I had. And I went to that place of mindfulness when it was like, and the frustration went away. And I went to that place in game where I was in the zone. Everything else around except the people at that table disappeared, and it was a life-changing moment for me.
And that's really the essence of living in the moment, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and who would have thought that a game of poker could teach me that?
And for those who are listening who may not get the connection, you are a competitive poker player.
I am, and I went into the poker industry in 1998, 2 years after I started, because I kept going, how do people get into the final table? How do they get there? What do they do? And so I became a poker journalist, because I wanted to interview the ones who were successful, because I wanted the secrets, I wanted to find out how they got there. And I discovered that my game improved dramatically. Every time I would interview someone, my game changed. And I was able to have a good showing in 2007. I finished in the top 4 women out of 6,400 people in the World Series of Poker Main Event Championship, and I'm very proud of that.
Oh, you should be. And not only are you a beautiful woman inside and out, you're a bit of an imposing height woman too. Tell people what people notice about you.
People notice about me is that with no heels, flat-footed, no dust on the floor, I am 6 feet 5 inches tall. And if you are in some place that you don't use that, I'm 1.97 meters.
Which is quite a bit taller than my 5'2".
But I want to let you know that my husband is one of the few people I look up to, and he is 5'3".
Oh, wow. It reminds me of Jeannie Robertson a little bit, and her husband are both like that. All right, well, let's get to the topic at hand, okay?
Absolutely.
I know you've got some great advice and some actionable tips for us, so lead us into that path. And later on, I'm going to ask you a question about a time you were on stage with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Talk about tall people.
Okay.
All right, so what do we need to know about helping ourselves shift our mindset?
I think the first thing that we need to understand is how to develop what I call emotional agility. Because think about being in a poker hand and you become upset. You lose a hand that you thought you were going to win at. They call that a bad beat in poker. I'm sure anyone can use that term in any part of their life. And the problem of it is that people continually focus on the wrong things. They focus on their mistakes rather than seeing what they can learn from that. And emotional agility is the ability to shift your mindset in the moment without beating yourself up. And because when you're in a hand and you get upset, you can't say, oh, excuse me, please, I'll step away from the table and meditate for half an hour and come back. Not going to happen. So it's the ability to learn how to shift in the moment, and it takes practice, because we can create the habit of mind shifting, but it takes the habit of doing it consistently on a daily period of time. But it's not meditating for a long time, even half an hour. I'm not talking about meditating. I'm talking about doing little mind shift exercises, starting out at 2 minutes, then maybe 3, then maybe 4, building up to 10 minutes a day. And that's what I believe is the core of emotional agility.
I love that, because that fits right in with what a lot of my clients hear from me, actually all of my clients and a lot of my followers, is that this fear of meditation and not being able to sit still for, an hour or more at time, that's irrelevant to being able to go inside and quiet enough to make a shift.
Yes, and the key is once you get in the habit of doing it, you can literally do a mind shift with a snap of a finger when you have retrained your brain to go through the process. I just got chills. That's it. You practice it until your brain is literally reformatted, because we can literally rewire the neural pathways of our brain by the way that we habitually think.
Yep, I truly believe that. And you led me right into asking the question, because I know part of the answer, but not all of the answer. You had this big revelation for yourself when you were on stage with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And tell us about that, and tell us also, why were you on stage with him? What were the circumstances?
Well, this was in 1980. No, excuse me. I was on stage with him in 1986, and it was because I had formed a company in Southern California called Above All Enterprises, which was a personal management firm for the promotion of tall and large-sized people.
Oh.
And I literally had gone to all different types of casting calls. They'd make a casting call for a short person, and I would go. And I would take, and they'd say, Donna, why are you here? And I said, because there's no reason it has to be a short person. And I was the one who actually had an impact in Hollywood to have Hollywood look at all types of bodies, because I said, look, there's no reason people have to be perfect little cookie cutter people. They can be big, they can be tall, they can carry extra weight, they can be obese even. And I had a dramatic effect on Hollywood at that time, even though I don't have a credit for it out there, but that's what I did. And they heard me and they listened. And I was actually on Our magazine with another tall woman in 1980. And then I was called back because I'd been on Our magazine before to come on with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, because he was 7'2", and Gary Collins they said he was 6'1", but he wasn't that tall. And they wanted someone to be the one between, to make them comfortable. And I think probably people would call me a motivational moderator today, and I guess that's what I was then. But I was on there because of that. Because I had before, I'd had the company Above All Enterprises. Now
that was the background I was missing about why you were there. Now, I have seen the video of you being on stage with him, but what happened that was the big revelation for you personally at that time?
It was huge, because I played basketball in high school, not because I really wanted to, because they came to me and said, oh, come on, learn to play basketball. And I had grown so fast, like 7 inches in a school year, then another 2 inches. I grew 9 inches in 1 year. And so I got to my high school. My high school was 5 grades, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It was before the juniors got high and high school. And every time at the end of a basketball game, I'd go, why am I such a poor basketball player? I just could go to 2 spots and shoot because I couldn't dribble. I had no way to dribble. I was so uncoordinated because I'd grown so fast. And when people continually ask me the question, do you play basketball? And I always went, And then when I met Kareem in the green room just before I went on, he said, do you play basketball? It's the first time I was proud of that. And I'm looking up saying, yes, I did. And I told him the story about what a poor basketball player I've been. And he said, well, what was your average? And he said, and I told him, and he started laughing. Oh, I thought, he's laughing at me. And he said, do you know Magic Johnson? And I said, of course. And he said, he's average this year is 23 points. And I said, do you mean my 36 points per game average over 5 years meant I was a good basketball player? And he said, no, it meant you were a star. And in that moment, I realized that I had been counting the wrong things. I had been counting the number of times I missed rather than the number of times I scored.
I just got chills on that one. All right. What's our next tip? I mean, I understand that all of that goes into that emotional agility and that ability to train yourself, train your mind to make a shift when you want to. Because if you don't want to, you're not going to do anything, right? And here at Rocking Your Path, it's all about being ready to take a step, being more fearful of staying where you are than stepping into the unknown to do something better for yourself. All right, so what's your next tip for us?
The next tip is actually the intention that I had recommended for my poker players when I was doing poker coaching only to do is it's actually what I did before I went to play. And it's actually what I do every day now in my life, every single morning. And it is, I intend to make correct decisions with the information that I have at hand, and I shall remain unattached to the outcome.
Yep. I've done something similar when I've talked to prospective clients. I disengage from the sale, so to speak. And it just allows me to really step into the moment, have the conversation that needs to be had. I'm comfortable whether they sign with me or sign with someone else, and it's just there. And I know I can do better applying that advice to other areas of my life. So can you give us an example of applying this?
Well, it has to do with, and is it okay if I use the poker game as an
absolutely.
Analogy? Okay. So in a poker hand, as in life, we never ever have all the information. And what we find is that there are points that we have to make decisions. And when we make a decision, we need to be okay with that. And if we make a mistake, that's okay. We need to go back and reframe it rather than a mistake is we need to say, what might I have done differently? Rather than continually beating ourselves up and expecting that we're going to have a bad beat. So that's how we can use it, because it's being in the flow and understanding that a term that I heard lately in a course that I'm actually taking, it's better to be messy than do nothing at all.
Any decision is better than no decision at all, because if you don't make a decision is made for you.
That's exactly right. And it's just like making a decision in a poker hand when you've got the cards. But here's another key to it. We said 3, but I'm going to add another one. Here's another key to it. When you folded a hand, you're going, well, I don't have any cards anymore. You folded a hand. But now what do? Is you continue to profile the other players. You take yourself to almost a higher level where you're almost, and energetically, after a while, you can literally almost move, you can almost raise above the table. It's not woo-woo stuff. I mean, it's just astonishing how you can do it and just be aware of what's going on around. and you can learn more information, and you do it in everything you do. When you're in, when you go to a party, when you're in a course with other people, when you're not talking, you're listening, because we have one mouth and two ears. We need to use our ears twice as much as we use our mouth.
Right. And that goes directly to that intention. When I teach intuition and how to use it practically in your daily life, we talk a lot about intention. And to me, intuition isn't some woo-woo sixth sense. We are born with intuition along with our other senses. And I believe our other senses are meant to be used in connection with intuition. That's part of the reason why my company name is 56 Vibes. It's 5 senses plus the 6th one. It also was my age when I changed my focus for my business and changed my company name. And it has some other connotations, but that's very important to me. And I love that I now have another analogy, thanks to you, to bring that into focus and to help explain it. So that's great. And for those listening, Donna does have a wonderful free resource. It's a 4-minute
audio
exercise. Is
that audio of a mind shift exercise? I walk people through a mind shift. It's only 7 steps, but it's fast. And imagine something that you can learn in 4 minutes, and you can do it in a snap.
Yeah. And I love that as pairing very well with my quick negative energy release scan, which you can do in 5 minutes or less as well. So cool. Awesome. So we will be giving the information for that in a bit. We've got a little bit more time. Either expand on the tips you've given us or the action steps, or give us another one.
Well, the one that I believe has become forefront with my coaching clients over the years, whether they were in gaming or in business, it's give yourself permission to fold. Because one of the biggest problems in the poker game was, I discovered, regardless of the caliber of the poker player, whether they were beginners, they were intermediate, or they were advanced pros, is they tended to hold on to cards and stay in a hand way too long. Because people are going, I knew it was beat, but I went ahead, I just want to see what's coming on. That's crap. And in life, it's crap. We have to give ourselves permission to fold early and fold often.
Absolutely. All right. So for people who think, I might do that occasionally, I hold when that intuition said I should probably release and just be comfortable with, because you don't know that after the fact that if you had stayed, the outcome would be what you're seeing is the outcome now. You don't know that if you had left, the outcome that you see transpire would be the actual one, because you're no longer a player in that game. So can you give us some examples of where to look in our lives for when we are doing things like that, holding on to something too long and being afraid to? I think that fear is probably the major reason we hold on for too long, right?
I think it's fear. Fear is the root of everything. It's fear of losing, and it's fear of winning. Good Lord. I mean, when I realized that there were instances where I was stuck because of fear of winning, I'm going, what is going on? I was afraid by winning, maybe people wouldn't look at me as I was smart. It was just so weird. Everything is fear-based. And when I first saw that, I went, oh, that's BS. And I went on Google and started, I must have spent 2 days looking for fear of. But I think that the fear is the key to it. And I believe that, say the question again, because I got myself onto the fear. Restate it. And that's okay, because,
if the example, can you give us some examples of when we are afraid to fold, to change our action step and plan a new action?
Sure, and it's certainly in the cards, and that's easier to analogize.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are, make a list of all the subscriptions you have, and all the make an asset list of all the subscriptions you have, and say, is it important for me to keep that? I mean, that's something in business. I mean, I just went through a list of that and I went, oh man, what am I doing? I started beating myself up going, oh, I did some shooting on myself. Don't shoot on yourself. But I said, man, if I had I said, that's okay. I'll let it go now. That's a really small way to determine where it's important to fold. Folding in relationships and in business is a huge thing. And I'm not a relationship coach, but in reality, I've actually been doing couples therapy without intending to, by doing a husband on one and a wife on another one, not together, and found out that it was all about mind shifting. And each one of them thought it was the other's problem, but internally, it's our problem. What we need to do is we need to let go of things that are in our less interest. How do I say that? Let go of things that no longer serve. It's ideas. I think it's drilling down and finding out what our values are, mine, yours, your value is, and saying, is that something to hold on to? Now, granted, I want you to understand that this is not a wholesale change. It takes time, but I think looking at values, subscriptions are a good way to start. It's something tangible. And that gives you something tangible to use. And
there's no life or death decisions involved. If you really make a mistake, you can always go subscribe again.
That's it.
You touched on the fear of success, which is a biggie that I have dealt with for years. And it took me a good while to realize how fearful I was of success. And part of the reason was in my first marriage of almost 25 years, I was punished for being successful in ways that didn't directly involve the farm we lived on. So when I started writing books and my books started selling and I was getting awards and I was suddenly making a lot more money than our little stipend salary that mother-in-law gave us as part of our pay, I became a threat to the family. And I basically sabotaged a great writing career after, publishing 15 books, 14 of them with major publishers, including Writer's Digest books, the global powerhouse of how to write books. And it took me until a moment in time after I left that marriage to say, wow, it was really the fear of success, because fear of success upset the apple cart. And I didn't want to do that. So I had some legitimate empathy reasons for keeping the apple cart smooth, for keeping the waves smooth, but it was damaging to me personally. And my moment of clarity was when I had to decide whether I would choose to be happy continuing to be a Cinderella, or if my only way of going forward was to embrace me. And so it was give up me or embrace me. And it was at that moment that I left. And then looking back, I realized how emotionally abusive it was. The night I escaped happened to be physically abusive and very scary. But even then, it still took several years for me to really understand how big my fear of success was.
And it's when you come across it and you see it, and it's astonishing. That's why I said I've dealt with it so many times. And you're afraid that if you make a decision and you're going to succeed someplace else, it's just something that I want anyone within the sound of our voice to understand. Right. Just release the fear of succeeding.
And I am not a relationship coach either, but I see that fear of success. If my relationship is successful, will I lose my self-identity?
Mm-hmm. When I was, after my first 2 marriages that were very abusive, and we'll go into that another day, and people are always talking about finding someone who completes you. All of a sudden, I had another one of those, actually, it was one of the first taps on the forehead from the universe, because this is way back then. And I heard this, look, it's not a case of finding someone who completes you. It's a case of finding the whole complete you. It's coming to that place where you are totally in love with you and you are complete. It's not the other person that needs to complete you. You want to find someone also who stands beside you and is totally with you. So you can see why people think that that's really odd. It's 6'5" and 5'3", but we are, we are yin yang. I mean, it just happens. We are in different bodies. And I just want people to understand that this physicality, our body is our vehicle. Our mind is the driver. And we have to love on this body, really, really love on it. And you have to maintain it. It's just like a car.
It is true. You have to love yourself first. And it's kind of like that analogy of being in an airplane and something going wrong. You've got to put the oxygen on you first before you're going to be of use to anybody else to help.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Donna, for sharing some wonderful tips, and do take the action steps that she suggests here. Where do we go to get your shift on demand exercise?
It's mindshiftondemand.com, Mindshift on Demand. And you can always follow me on Facebook. And since I am the big girl of poker, it's facebook.com/big girl poker. The poker side is Big Girl Poker. On Twitter, I'm Big Girl Poker. On YouTube, I'm Big Girl Poker. So.
And many of those places you can find that wonderful segment where she talks about when she had that huge mindset shift for herself, when she had that conversation with that wonderful basketball player, Kareem
Abdul-Jabbar. I'll help with that. And it's astonishing because I posted it 30 days ago on Facebook, and I've had over 3,500 views, and I'm honored.
Yes, it's wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again, Donna, for being with me.
Kat, I am honored.
And this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, closing another episode of Fast Action Fridays. Stay tuned. Come back. Watch past episodes. Watch for the new episodes. And always remember to keep rocking your unique path to success. Bye.